In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to take in a pair of jeans or trousers. So I bought this pair of trousers, which are a couple of sizes too big for me, from a charity shop. And I just really liked the colour, the pockets at the front, and the length. I often find that jeans are not long enough for me. So I really liked these ones. They hadn't even been worn before. They're originally from Next, but I got them for $6.99, and I tried them on and they're a nice fit on my legs but just too big on the waist. So I'm going to show you how to reduce that. This is the equipment I'm going to need. So I've got a small pair of embroidery scissors, a bigger pair of scissors, an unpicker, which I'll show you. It's going to help us take off some of the existing lines of stitch in the jeans. I've got a thread which is going to match the colour of the trousers, and a set of pins to help me secure the new sizing before I sew it. So I'm going to get my unpicker and unpick the waistband here to detach it from the trousers, and then unpick this part here. So this is the back of the jeans, and I'm going to unpick these sections. So first thing to do is remove this belt loop. And then you can keep this and sew it back on afterwards, so you still have the same functionality of the belt loop. So that's the belt loop. Make sure to keep that safe, and we'll reattach it at the end. So this is the jeans inside out, and I can show you what I've unpicked. So this is the waistband. It's completely detached from the jeans. So at the back, I've unpicked all the way down to this crotch seam here. And then I'm also going to unpick about 2 centimeters in either direction here. So I've gone all the way down to here, and then about 2 centimeters either way, and that's what it should look like. So I've now put the jeans on the right way in, and Holly is going to help me with pinning to the new size that I want. So I'm going to just leave the waistband for now, and then attach these two parts together at the new size that I want.
I know it seems a bit counterproductive to be sewing them like this rather than inside out, which is how you usually do it, but it's a kind of trust the process thing.
Yeah, so we're going to sandwich this seam in, so it's going to be a seamless finish.
It'll be nice and hidden in the end.
And then this is what that pinning looks like close up.
So I've taken the jeans back off and just folded them in half here so you can see where we've pinned. And what you want to do is just make sure that your pins are all in a nice line. And then we're going to finish this off at the bottom by stretching out or unfolding this section here. And what you're aiming to do is join up your line of pins with the edge of the fabric here. So you want to be about 5 millimeters away from the edge of the fabric in a straight line between here and where your current pins are. And that's the line that I'm going to sew along on the machine in a thread that matches the color of the jeans.
So this is what they look like once that line has been completely stitched. The jeans are now attached together, and I've gone all the way down to the end. The next thing to do is cut off the excess. So I'm going to use my big scissors to cut the fabric about 1/2 centimeter away from that line of stitching that I've just sewn, so that there's only a small amount of leftover fabric. And this is what you want it to look like. The next thing we want to do is sandwich in that raw edge. So keeping the jeans inside out, what we want to do is wrap the outside edges around that raw seam and then pin that down in place. So I'm going to use some plastic clips here, but using pins would be exactly the same. And you basically want to turn the fabric on itself to enclose that raw edge. And this is what it will look like when you've gone all the way along, either with your pins or your clips. You then want to follow that line and sew it with your sewing machine. So you're just over 1/2 centimetre from the edge and you're sandwiching in that raw hem so it looks completely neat on the other side as well. Next, you want to top stitch that down, so you move it to one side and run one line of stitching along the edge of where you've sewn. And this is what it will look like once you've done the top stitch, so your little seam is completely flat. The next thing we're going to look at is sewing up that area of the crotch that we unpicked right at the start. So what you need to do is basically look closely at where all the existing folds are and manipulate the fabric so that you're recreating the exact shape that it was before. So if there was a line of stitch there before, we're going to recreate that now with a new line of stitch in exactly the same place after. So I'm going to secure this in place with some pins before then taking it back over to the sewing machine to sew along all those lines that I unpicked. Once that's done, I'm going to return to the waistband. So the first thing I need to do is unpick the label that I have here because it's in the way of where I want to cut. You may or may not have this label, but if you do, you can always save it and sew it back on afterwards if you want to. So having made the jean smaller, we now also need to make the waistband smaller so that it matches up at the top. So I'm going to fold my jeans in half and then use my bigger scissors to cut straight through that waistband so it's in 2 pieces. This is what it will now look like, and I'm going to unpick just along the top of the waistband so that I can then re-sew it together into one piece but smaller. So I'm just separating out those 2 parts of each side of the waistband. So this is what the 2 parts now look like, and I've put a pin in the place where I know that the 2 are going to meet. I want to attach the front and back of the waistband together, right sides together. So I'm putting the correct sides of the denim together, touching each other, and pinning them in place where I had that original pin. So I'm basically joining the left-hand side and the right-hand side of that waistband that we've cut in half, but with right sides together so that it's now going to be one continual loop. I'm then going to take these pieces over to the sewing machine and sew along that line that I've just pinned, and I'll do that on both sides of the waistband. So I've got right sides together and I'm doing one line of stitching to join up that part where I cut, but now it's going to be a bit smaller. So this is what it looks like now both parts have been sewn together. So I've turned this the right way in again. You can see what the new waistband is going to look like. But I just want to get rid of this excess bit of fabric. So once again, I'm going to use my big scissors to cut around 1/2 centimetre away from the line I've just stitched. The last stage is to reattach the waistband to the jeans and sew up the top of the waistband. So basically what I'm going to do here is use my clips and my pins to attach together the stitches that I undid beforehand, and I'm going to sew along all of those line of stitches once again so that everything looks exactly as it was before. So fold under the waistband and just make sure you're catching it on both sides, as it's easy to sew on one side and then turn over and realize that you haven't also caught the waistband on the other side. So you want to use the waistband to sandwich in the pair of jeans. I'm using a pin here just to hold all the parts together so it'll be easier to sew along when I take it back to the machine. Once that's done, you're now ready to take it over and stitch along all those lines that you unpicked right at the start. And try and stay as closely as you can to those existing stitching holes so then you'll have the most professional finish. And this is what it looks like now. I've done the stitching and I'm really happy with this. I think it looks really professional. And the last thing to do is reattach that belt loop to cover up the seam that we've made on the waistband.
This is the finished pair of jeans and I'm so happy with the result. The fit around this whole hip and waist section is tailored to me, which is so great.
Finding jeans off the shelf that fit all parts of you it's just so tricky. So to be able to do this on any of your pair of trousers is really useful.
And this is a close-up of the fit, so you can see exactly what it's like at the top. You can see that belt loop and the finish is really neat.